In this video I will show you the example of recursion, and this time it is a lot of complicated example, and this example is known as Tower of Hanoi. Okay, so let us see this example. Suppose we have three needles, needle 1, 2 and 3, and we have some disc around the needle, and each disc is slightly smaller as we move from down to upward. Like 3 is the largest disc and 2 is the smaller disc than 3, and 1 is the smaller disc than 2. So we have 3 discs, and the goal is to move this disc from needle 1 to needle 3. Okay, so our input needle is needle 1, our output needle is needle 3, and our intermediate needle is needle 2. So we have to keep track of these needles, that which one is the input needle and which one is the output needle and which one is the intermediate needle. So in this case we have total 3 discs, and we want to move this disc from needle 1 to needle 3 using this intermediate disc number 2, and this order should be same at needle 3. That is, needle disc 3 should be at the bottom, then disc 2, then disc 1, and so on. The rules of moving these discs from needle 1 to needle 3 are these: only one disc can be moved at a time, and the removed disc must be placed on one of the needles, and the larger disc cannot be placed on the top of a smaller disc. So in this case, so to make it simple, we will first of all consider that we have only one disk. Okay, if we have only one disk, then we can simply move that disk from needle 1 to needle 3. There is no complication in this. Now consider the second case, in which we have two disks in one needle. So if we have two disks, then we will move one disk from needle 1 to needle 2, that is intermediate needle, and the second disc is moved from needle 1 to needle 3 directly, and then we will move the disc put into needle 2 from needle 3, and we will succeed. And now consider the third case, in which we have three discs in first needle. So what we will do, look at this. The goal is to move these discs, all of these discs from needle 1 to needle 3. But first of all, the top two needles 1 and 2, we will simply divide our main task into subtasks. The main task is to shift all these discs from needle 1 to needle 3, but we will, if we got rid of the top two disc, then we can move this number 3 disc from needle 1 to needle 3, and then we can move the other needles, other disc from temporary location to the final. So the goal is divided into two sub goals. What are these two sub goals? First, shift the top n minus 1 disc, that is disc 1 and disc 2, to needle 2. This is first task. Okay, and then move the shift disc 3 from disc needle 1 to needle 3. So for this task, the first task is to move the top disc 1 and top disc 2 from needle 1 to needle 2. So here in this task, the input needle is needle 1 and the output needle is needle 2 this time, and the intermediate needle is needle 3. Suppose so now what we will do, this we will move this needle disc 1 from the intermediate needle 3, that is intermediate needle for the task 1. Okay, so the 1 is shifted to needle 3 and 2 is shifted to final output needle in this task. Okay, so it will move to needle 2. Then what is the next step? Move the needle disc 1 from needle 3 to needle 2. So here you can see that our one task has been completed successfully. Our first task was to remove the n minus 1 top, n minus 1 disc, that is 1 and 2, to the needle 2. Our first task is completed successfully. The top n minus 1 needles disc has been shifted to the needle 2. Okay, and for the second task, what we have broken our main task into two tasks. We have the second task was to move the disc 3 to needle 1 to needle 3. Okay, we have simply moved this from to disc 3, and now the next task is to move these two discs from needle 2 to needle 3. So simply now this task for moving these top two discs from this needle 2 to needle 3, now needle 1 becomes the intermediate needle. Okay, for this task, what is task? Move the two disc 1 and 2 from needle 2, that is input needle now, and needle 3 is the output, and needle 1 is the intermediate. So we have already discussed this case of moving two disc from one needle to other needle. For this we have to shift 1 to the intermediate needle, and 1 is gone to needle 1, and then we will move the needle disc 2 to the needle 3, and then we will move to disc 1 to the needle 3. So you can see that our main task was to move the 3 discs from one needle to the other needle, and we have broken down this task to 3 subtasks, and for each subtask the input needle and the output needle and the intermediate needles are changed. So using this technique we can transfer any number of discs from one needle to another needle. The breakdown of this task is into 3 subtasks. Okay, first of all, move the top n-1 disc from one needle to needle 2 using needle 3 as the intermediate needle, and then move disc numbers n from needle 1 to needle 3, and then move top n-1 disc from needle 2 to needle 3 using needle 1 as the intermediate needle. I have explained all these steps in case of 3 disc. Okay, now we will write its definition. So simple. Here you can see that we have divided our main task, move disk, into 3 tasks. This is task 1, this is task 2, and this is task 3. So here the main task is, this is count. Count means number of disk. Okay, for example, here we have passed 9 to the function. We have 9 disk total, and our input needle is 1 and output needle is 3, and our intermediate needle is 2. So first of all we have needle 1, needle 3, needle 2. Needle 1 is our input needle, needle 3 is final output needle, and needle 2 is the intermediate needle. Okay, so first of all we do, we transfer n-1 count -1 disk from needle 1 to needle 2. In this subtask we can see that our input needle is needle 1 and output needle becomes needle 2, and the intermediate becomes needle 3. Okay, then we simply move from needle 1 to needle 3. Our top bottommost disk, and then we move the disk we have shifted to needle 2 to needle 3. Okay, moved to needle 2 to needle 3 using the needle 1 as an intermediate needle. So we have simply broken down our complex tower of Hanoi logic into 3 simple tasks. So this will even break down to much more subtasks. Okay, each task will be broken down into subtasks. So in this way we can solve this problem.